So for the second to last talk of the day, a long day here at the Peerlyst offices, we have for you Tony Martin-Vegue, who is very good at making estimations using game theory, data, and other things. So Tony will introduce himself. And Tony, please, the floor is all yours.
Okay, thank you, Klaus. Hi, everybody. How are you today? So I hope I'm not the last person standing between you and beer. I'm going to try to make this really fun for you all. So this is part presentation, but it's also part training. I'm going to train everybody to become security bookies. And this is going to be hands-on, so I need a lot of input from you. I hope everybody read my my post. Everyone's supposed to bring $20. You'll get it back at the end, I promise, and I brought money if somebody needs it. We're going to do some quizzes, see how good of an estimator you are, and we'll do one at the end and see if I helped you improve it all. So I just need I need a little information from everybody to level set so I can tailor the presentation a little bit. Who works in information security right now? Most everybody. Who works in risk management? In the field of this, one person. Does anybody know what I mean by calibration? How many people know? Anybody else? Okay, that's really good because this is beginner level. We're going to start from the very beginning. So first, just a little bit about me. So I'm here locally. My name is Tony, and that's my Twitter handle. I actually work in downtown San Francisco, about 8 blocks from here, at a fintech firm called Lending Club. I've been in technology for over 20 years now, and information security in the last 10. I fell in love with risk management about 8 or 9 years ago because I really like solving very difficult information security problems. That's probably my most favorite thing to do. And I felt like risk managers are confronted with the hardest problems in security daily, and we help everybody make better decisions, from senior management to people that are doing vulnerability scans to people that are in the SOC. We just help people make better decisions. So that's what really attracted me to the field. And the field of risk management, if you're not familiar with it, it relies very heavily on expert judgment. So we use data as much as we can, from vulnerability scans, pen tests, external reports, data breach information from the outside. But there's a lot of information that we can't exactly ascertain from those sources, so we rely on expert judgment. So why aren't you here? So here's just a quick introduction. Everybody in here is an expert on some level. You're an expert at whatever your hobby is or whatever your field is. For those of you that raised your hand for being in the information security field, you are experts in information security. And I value your opinion. And the companies that you work at, they also value your opinion. And the success of our companies really depend on you giving good answers to them when they ask you a question. And that's really the crux of my whole presentation, is giving a better answer to someone when they ask for your opinion on a security problem. So this whole exercise that we're going to do today, I'm going to have you do some quizzes. Don't worry, they're really fun, I hope. We're going to talk about calibration. We're going to talk about how you bridge that into probability estimates of your company. All of that is part of a discipline called expert judgment. And we use this skill all the time in information security. I have a quick story for you. When I was a little kid, I entered a jelly bean counting contest. And I was trying so hard to win this contest. I was counting the beans on the outside, trying to figure out how many are on the inside. I lost the contest. But the metaphor here is we do this in our jobs nearly every day. If you work in information security, you probably don't realize it, but you the equivalent of a jelly bean counting contest every day. We're regularly asked our opinion on the probability or frequency of data breaches. How effective is our security awareness program? Do we need to do more security awareness training? Do we have a greater threat from insiders, or is it from external malicious actors? We're often asked these questions, and we give answers, and they may or may not be based on data. A lot of times it's just finger in the wind. But understanding the role of expert judgment is going to help all of us answer those questions a little bit better. It's the cornerstone, really, of a good information security program. So I keep using this word expert judgment. What exactly is this? So this is interdisciplinary. It's interdisciplinary skill. It's used in medicine, biology, it's used in climate science. It's used very heavily in engineering, a lot of different engineering fields, and it's used in cyber risk. I use it daily. The most interesting work actually being done in this field isn't in cyber risk, it's in the medicine and climate science field, which I'll get into that in just a second. People use expert judgment when they're trying to answer a question or trying to forecast something that has a high degree of uncertainty, or it requires the person answering the question to interpret incomplete or missing data, or sometimes data doesn't even exist, basically where there's a high degree of uncertainty. I'll give you an example of how I'm currently using expert judgment. So I'm doing a risk assessment on data breaches and other types of cyber incidents on blockchain technology. We're looking at using that. Some people, I won't name their names, of course, of my company, but some people say that this is absolutely impossible. You can't do a risk assessment on blockchain technology because we've never had a data breach on the blockchain. Those types of historical models aren't available. But if you take a look at what information we do have data on data breaches in general. We have a lot of information on that. We also have information on cyber incidents on distributed databases, which is really the underlying technology of a lot of blockchain implementations. We can also take a look at certain business cases, certain use cases, like payments or foreign exchange. There's a ton of information about that, about cyber incidents and those types of use cases. So what we'd want to do is collect all that information, all those things I just said, collect it together and give it to experts to try to fill in the gaps, to try to ascertain cyber incidents or the probability of those types of things happening on blockchain technology. Here's a couple more fields that use expert judgment. So every doctor that I've ever been to uses expert judgment when they're estimating and communicating to their patients diagnoses and the next step of decision making. So I was at my doctor a couple months ago, and he gave me the probability of having heart disease. And he used information. I've never had heart disease before, so there's no historical data on me that he could draw on in order to make that probability estimate. However, he does know my sex, he knows my race, my height, my weight, my eating habits. I fudged a little bit about the donuts and the beer drinking. But he was able to take all that information and make a probability estimate about my chances of getting heart disease, and made some, it was some hard talk he had based on the donuts and beer drinking. Oil and gas exploration is another great example of where people use expert judgment. There is a lot of uncertainty and a lot of unknowns in that field. And basically what this industry does is they get a room filled with experts, everybody in the oil and gas sector, and they ask them questions. and they pull it together and try to figure out where to drill and what the expected yield would be from those exploration activities. Climate science. This is actually one of my favorite examples because there's a direct parallel with data breach estimations. So many people have said to me, I can't estimate the possibility of a data breach for you because I've never witnessed one at this company. But we've also never witnessed climate change personally on the scale that climate scientists are being asked to predict. Yet climate scientists for decades have been using the combination of some historical models with a lot of expert judgment to make very credible estimations about the rate of global warming and the rate of the melting ice caps. And the last example here is engineering. SpaceX engineers and also NASA does this too. They give estimations about failure rates of components before the first flight even launches. So SpaceX engineers were able to do this before the first rocket ever even took off. This is a great example, I think, of expert estimation. And it's very effective. They can make really good estimations about different component failures. Okay, so and after this, we're going to do another one to see if it works, see if my training works. So I'm going to pass these out. And if you need a pen, please raise your hand. It's just a short 10-question quiz. So what I'd like you to do, don't flip it over. Just do the first quiz on the first page here. Answer it true or false. And circle with confidence that you are correct about your answer. So if you are positive you got it right, you're going to answer 100%. Anyone need a pen?
Yes, please.
100% is
Thank you very much.
certain.
100%
Right.
is you are certain you got it.
And if I have no idea,
50%. That's the
Okay.
coin flip.
great.
True or false? Just the first side.
Going back.
No, hold on to that. So just the first side.
Or what do we win?
The Security Bookie Award.
Prestigious Security Bookie Award. I'll give out some tips.
Okay. Okay, who needs more? Okay, a few more. We about done. Is everyone good? Okay, I'm going to go ahead and start the calibration exercise. So this is a lightning fast calibration session. A lot of people would do this in the course of about 2 or 3 days. But there's research, and also my research. I've done some independent work on this. You can measurably improve somebody's ability to give estimates in 20 minutes. And that's what we're going to do here. I've taken the best elements out of all the training and compressed it down. So what is calibration? So I want you to think of a tool. So for example, a gauge that measures tire pressure. You would want to calibrate it so that when the dial says 60 PSI, it actually really is 60 PSI. And you would also want to apply those same concepts to yourself, to humans, when they make estimations. Calibration of experts involves several things, but what we're really trying to do here is control for your bias. All humans have all sorts of bias, and it's everywhere. And it especially comes up when humans are making decisions about things. Identifying and controlling for bias is incredibly hard to do. The primary bias that we see when we're making estimates, especially among security professionals, is called the overconfidence effect. And there's been a lot of groundbreaking work in the last 3 years about the overconfidence effect by a psychologist named Daniel Kahneman and his partner, Amos Tversky. Kahneman actually won the Nobel Prize in economics, but he's not an economist, he's a psychologist. That's how groundbreaking his work is. It's that the field of economics took a psychologist's work and it changed everything so much that they gave him the Nobel Prize. So in the specific case of estimating cyber incidents, I'll give you a case study here. The overconfidence effect would come into play when we're asking an expert for their judgment on that. So if you're asking somebody about the probability of a data breach, what we want really is the most likely estimate of, right in the middle. What do you think the most likely probability is of a data breach? We're also going to ask for another estimate, a probability in which 90% of the range of possibilities fall into that. The overconfidence effect comes into effect here with this example because people overestimate their ability to give you a correct answer. So what I'm trying to say here is people think that they're right more often than they really are. We also see underconfidence also. We don't see it as often as over, but underconfidence means you think you are right less often than you really are. The good news here is that it's possible to correct for both, but we have to use calibration for that. It gives you the skills that you need to make good estimates about things. So just here a quick quote from Daniel Kahneman. Overconfident professionals sincerely believe they have the expertise, act as experts, and look like experts. You will have to struggle to remind yourself that they may be in the grip of an illusion. And for me, I keep that in mind all day when I'm eliciting experts at my job, when I'm trying to do information security risk analysis. And when I say that, what you're actually doing is when you're making estimates, you're mentally correcting for the overconfident and underconfidence effect. There's two groups of people that naturally correct for this automatically behind the scenes, and that's bookies and meteorologists. So bookies, Those are bookmakers. Those are people that take bets, calculate odds, and do payouts of winnings. And meteorologists, of course, even though meteorology nowadays is mostly computer-aided, you still have computer models that may contradict each other. That still happens nowadays. So the meteorologist's job is to take those different models, run it through their expert news, and you hear the weather forecasters say there's a 40% chance of rain. There's two things that just happened that you may not realize. They just used their expert judgment about something, and they gave you a probability estimate, 40% chance of rain. The reason why the two groups of people are so calibrated is because they receive constant feedback on the quality of their prior estimate. So for example, a bookmaker, the bookie, will know within days or even hours if his or her estimate was correct about a racehorse, if the odds were right. The meteorologists will know just by walking outside the next day if their estimate was right about the chance of rain. So all of us, though, on the other hand, we have a totally separate problem from them. When we make an estimate about incidents from insider threats, we might have to wait 5, 10, 15, 20 years to see if our prior estimate was correct or not. It's unlikely that I'll even work at that company anymore. And even if I do, no one's going to remember that I made an assessment 20 years from there. No one's going to care. So that's why we use something called seed questions. And that's what these are. The quiz that I had to fill out, those are called seed questions. And that helps you gauge your calibration, and it's a replacement for that constant feedback. So this is an example. I'm sure that you're all familiar with this because you just did it. It doesn't seem like this would help you become a better estimator in the field of information security. There's a ton of research that shows that this is good enough. This is a good substitute for that constant feedback that bookies and meteorologists get. Just filling out general trivia questions, gauging your level of calibration, and then having someone grade you on it and give you feedback right away. And I'm going to do that at the end. We're going to give you feedback and let you know if you're overconfident or underconfident or perfectly calibrated. And research shows that that's good enough to make you become a better estimator when I ask you
It seems the Wi-Fi might have small problems.
So that's good enough. These types of seed questions are good enough to correct for the overconfident and underconfident effect. It's actually I was reading a really interesting study. There's a climate scientist by the name of Roger Cook, and he asked climate scientists on a regular basis about melting ice caps and how much ice is melting at what rate and over how many years, that type of thing. And he actually asks at the beginning of each of these exercises these types of questions, pop culture questions, that type of thing. And if you're very overconfident or underconfident, he actually throws away your estimate about the rate of polar ice cap. So I think besides knowing that you all have either overconfident or the underconfidence effect, another really important concept is accuracy versus precision. So I want to show you these two images up here. So this person threw darts here, and compared to that one, there's pretty wide grouping. They're not terribly precise. It's all over the place, but they are accurate. They made it, on the target. Now this person, they're very precise. This is great. That's a really good dart thrower. But they lost the game. They're precise, but they're not accurate. So what we're trying to strive for is accuracy, not precision. And I'll give you an example of that. We're gonna play the first game here. So how much does a 4-pin tool weigh? Does anybody want to make a guess?
1,000 pounds.
1,000 pounds. Anybody else? 1,500. 1,500. So if I say 1,376.762 pounds, that's very precise, but it's not accurate. I just made that up. Now, anywhere between 2,015 and 2,270 pounds, that's not precise. That's a much larger range. Estimates about probabilities. Perfect is the enemy of good. And this is one of my favorite sayings, that perfect really is that first dart thrower. That's this one. Trying to be perfect. This is pretty good. Okay, let's do another exercise. I'm going to grab a box here. How much does this box weigh? That's good. Anybody else?
2 pounds.
2 pounds. 2 pounds. So this could be a data breach. It's the metaphor is really the same. That I could set it down and ask you how much it weighs, and you could say, I don't know anything about that. I don't know what's in it. You all know there's chips in there, but maybe there's something else in there. Maybe I snuck in before and filled it up with old bricks. But what you want to do is start to decompose the problem. Think about it. Think about what could possibly be in this box. Could it be filled with chips? Or could it be filled with solid gold or dirt or rocks? If you get stuck and you have absolutely no idea whatsoever, what you want to do is start with the absurd. This is going to help you estimate. So let's think about what absurd ranges would be. So an absurd range would be 0.01 pounds. It means it's completely empty. And if it's filled with gold, it could be what, 500 pounds, I guess? So that's pretty absurd. But that is an accurate range of how much this could weigh. If you get stuck, start with that. Start with the absurd ranges. And then after you have the absurd range in your mind, now you start to apply things that you know. So you saw me carry it in here with one hand, and I kind of set it down. I picked it back up. I would injure myself if it was filled with gold, and would probably just break apart if I tried to pick it up. So we know it's not filled with gold. Now we can start to bring our absurd ranges in. So the goal here is accuracy, not precision. So let's bring those ranges in. So I said 0.1 to 500 pounds. I'm going to say 0.1 to 10 pounds. I think that's reasonable. That's still within the realm of possibility. And I think it's written on it. 3 pounds, 6 ounces. So I think that a couple people said something that was really close to that. So that's pretty good. You might be quickly kind of. But we'll see you by the quiz. So let's do another one. What's the wingspan of a 747? So who has $20? Does anyone? And I have $20. You can borrow. I just need a volunteer. Yeah, you'll get it. Okay. So here's your $20. Here's my $20. And I'm going to give you the reason why I'm doing this is if you have stakes, if you have a personal interest, if there's something at risk for you, you give a better estimate. So bookies will lose all their money. Meteorologists will get fired from their job. That's why they're so good. There's a personal stake in it. And even though I'm going to give this back to you, research shows, psychologists show that just this game right here of exchanging money is going to make you a better estimate. So give me a range of what you think the wingspan of a 747 is.
$115 square meters.
I can't convert that to feet.
Sorry. Inches?
Okay. Feet or inches, yeah. So start with the absurd if you're stuck.
2,000.
So I'm going to give you more information. Same as the box exercise. The football field is 360 feet. Does that help anybody? Knowing that a football field is 360 feet. You think about 747 fitting into a football field. I'll give you another piece of information. Here, South of Market area, I looked this up. The blocks, between Mission and Market or Howard and Mission, they average 500 feet by 500 feet. Does that help you? Knowing the length of a football field and the block that all of you probably walk down is 500 feet. Could it fit in there? Here's another piece of information. The Chevy Suburban SUV is 18 feet. So if you think about Suburban, you've seen one, you might have been in one. You've also been on a 747. You've seen one on the tarmac. This is all additional information that you can use to apply to your estimate.
Do you want us to guess now?
Yes.
100 to 150.
100 to 150 feet?
I say 400 feet.
That's your maximum. What's your minimum?
Maximum.
That's your maximum. What's your minimum? Minimum absurd range.
50.
Anybody else?
190 to 150 to 250.
One more here.
200 to 300.
You ready? It is $11 Suburbans.
11 and 15. Wow.
That's it. 200.
198.
200.
Where's your
That's pretty good over there.
So I'm going to do another exercise. I wanted to do the bet test with the $20. So I'm gonna mix this up a little bit. I want somebody $20. You can borrow my $20 to guess how tall I am within a range. So if you feel like you don't know, if you feel stuck, use what you know. Who wants to play? Okay.
Okay. Fine. I had it out.
Okay. You'll get that.
Okay.
Okay. How tall am I? Give me a range.
I'm going to say 5'9" minimum to 6'4".
Now today's your lucky day because you are in Tony's game show. Now, behind door number 1 is, if this range is right, if you're right, I will give you $20 of my money. Or you can spin this wheel. If it lands in the blue, you win $20. If it lands in the red, I keep your $20. Which one would you rather do? Would you rather spin the wheel or bet me that you're right on this?
Yeah, I'll bet you that I'm right about mine.
So what I want you to do is pull your ranges out. So you actually have the same probability of being right about this estimate if you're 90% sure and spinning the wheel. They're actually the same. It's the same odds. So that's the lesson here, is make your ranges pretty much the same as spinning the wheel. And I'm going to spin the wheel because this took me all night to do that. So tell me when to stop.
Stop.
So you won $20. I need my $20.
Yeah.
How did you get to the 90% with the range?
So giving a range, I want you to be 90% sure that the true answer falls within that range. I think I might have left that.
You didn't mention that.
I didn't mention.
So I was thinking, I don't know if I was right or not, but I was thinking about absolute min-max. Maybe I shouldn't have been. I might have narrowed the range if I was thinking about 90% confidence.
Yeah, so I left that important piece
Okay.
out. So when I ask for my height, I want you to give me the range in which you're 90% sure the true answer falls within that range. And then I'm going to ask you if you would rather spin the wheel or bet on this. And if you're calibrated, you don't care. I don't care which one it is because the odds are exactly the same. If you would rather spin the wheel, that means you didn't give a good estimate. And I want you to pull your ranges out a little bit so that you're truly ambivalent about which one to do. So sorry, I left that out. The true answer is I'm 6'2". So you win. Does that make sense? Does anyone have any questions about that? Oh, I found my slide.
No.
Okay, so how do we apply this concept to binary questions? Those are true-false questions. So if I were to ask you, what is Ramori is Chandler's last name in this sitcom Friends? True or false?
False.
Is it false? Yeah. Confidence that you're correct, 50% to 100%. 100%. Is anybody not 100%? So the way to think about this is, let's see, here it is. So here's how I want you to conceptualize these probabilities when you're doing the next quiz. If you're absolutely sure that Chandler's name is what? It's not Ramori. Is it Bing? If you're absolutely sure, that's 100%. Now, if you say 50%, that means you're flipping a coin. Not for true false, but whether or not you're confident you got it right. So when you're answering this portion of it, if it really is a coin flip, put 50. If you are absolutely positive, you put 100%. And any shade in between, you could move up from 50. So it's not quite a coin flip, but I'm not positive. I'm going to put 60% or 70%. And then you can go the reverse way too. If you're pretty sure, but not 100%, 90%. Okay, so we're going to do quiz 2 now. Here's some really quick pro tips before you start. So apply anything that you know to these quiz questions. Decompose it, and can you improve your confidence at all by thinking about what you know about it? Is it better than a coin flip? So please turn it over and do quiz number 2. Is everyone ready? Does anyone need more time? Okay, let's find out how calibrated we are. So it's a larger group. Usually I would try to grade it for you really quick, but it would take a long time, so we're going to do this together. So please flip it back over to test 1. And I'm going to read off the answers and then just mark it correct or not. So 1 is false, 2 is true, 3 is false. Quiz 1. What was that? Sure. So 1 is false, 2 is true, 3 is false, 4 is true, 5 false, 6 true, 7 false, 8 false, 9 true, 10 true. So then just mark somewhere how many you got right. So 7 out of 10, something like that. And now what I want you to do is we're going to figure out how many you think you got right.
I'll just read the correct answers for David already. Quiz 1. False, true, false. All right, he's almost caught up.
So remember, I don't care how many you got right. It doesn't matter. The only thing we care about is how many you think you got right. If you think you totally bombed out on it, that's okay. Everything, it should be a coin flip for everything. So the next step is you probably will have to use your calculator. If you don't have that, let me know. Convert the confidence percentages into a decimal and add them all up. So 100 is going to be a 1.
But only the ones that are right.
Everything. All of them. All 1 through 10. Add them all together. What was that? The percentages, convert it to a decimal and add them all together. So if you said 100% on something, that's a 1. If you said 80%, that's a 4. Does anyone need a calculator?
I'm not sure about your Cherokee Indians answer. The tribe was called the Sequoia tribe. Not the leader.
We'll have a Wikipedia battle. Is everyone ready? Okay, please turn it over. We're going to do the same exact thing. 1 false, 2 true, 3 false, 4 false, 5 false, 6 true, 7 true, 8 true, 9 false, 10 false. And also, please add up the percentages.
We're adding the confidence percentages regardless of the correctness of the answer in each particular case.
You're adding them all up.
Okay.
All 10 need to be added up regardless.
You were clear on that. I just wanted to.
Is everyone ready? Yep. So go back to quiz 1. The actual number you got right is how many you got right. So if it's 7 out of 10, you got 7 right. So the percentage is how many you think you got right. So if you got 7 out of 10 right, but it's 9.8, you're very overconfident. You think you got more right than you really did. Mm-hmm. Does everybody? Yeah. So who's overconfident? And who's underconfident?
I'm totally on spot if it's a question.
And who's perfectly calibrated? So within plus or minus 1, you're right there. Anybody? Okay, so flip it over. You're perfectly calibrated. So you're a security bookie. Okay, so for the second one, who improved? Who's closer? 1, 2, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 people improved. Yes, I did it.
But does it have anything to do with the questions? Because I knew the questions the second time, or more of the questions.
Yeah,
We
me
don't
too.
care. It doesn't matter. They could be the easiest questions or the hardest questions. The only thing we care about is whether or not you think you got it right. It's calibration, yeah.
It's counterintuitive that the quality of calibration is dependent of correctness. Because I had a number of cases, especially on the first side, which I got mostly wrong. There were some cases where my degree of confidence was embarrassingly high for answers I got wrong. Whereas on the second side, that really did not occur. So I was perfectly calibrated on the second side, but I'm not sure I believe.
Could it be that my training is so good? You're just that much of a No, but it really doesn't matter. I did this with Fair Institute, if you guys are familiar with it's a risk management institute. And I just use all pop culture questions. Like, I don't know, people's husbands and how tall Brad Pitt is, stuff like that. And from quiz 1 to quiz 2, there was a big improvement in calibration. So how would you use this at your day job? So try to use some of these concepts when somebody asks you a question. So what's a greater threat to our company, insider threat or external malicious actors? You can start to decompose, apply what you know, use ranges instead of single point estimates. We're going to have one data breach next year. That's what I think. That's too precise. You want to be accurate. So between this many and that many data breaches in this many years. And that's going to frame the answer a little bit better, make better, enable better decisions for business leaders. So that's it. Any questions? Yes.
I did worse on the second one. Why do you think that is?
Well, you were perfectly calibrated, but you didn't know you were perfectly calibrated. So you might have started to second guess yourself.
Right.
You didn't know you were perfect.
Right.
So you might have started second guessing yourself and going in a different direction. Right. I'm just curious, did you go in the second quiz, are you overconfident or underconfident?
Overconfident.
I think that's what happened, is you second guessed yourself. So maybe next time I do this, I'll grade the quizzes before we move on to the calibration training,
right,
so that you know what bias you have before we move on. I think that would probably correct. Right. Any other questions? Cool. Thanks, everyone.